welcome to the Saturday Night Live Afterparty. This week, we'll be discussing Season 46, Episode 9 of SNL with host Kristen Wiig and musical guest Dua Lipa. I'm Catherine Coleman, and this week Steve Finn is back. And John's here too. If you'd like to connect with any of us, you can do so at snlpodcast.com. All right, here we go. All right, guys, so Christmas time is fully here now, and this year SNL gave us tons of Christmas content to dive into, from the pain of motherhood to Dr. Seuss erotic fan fiction. So let's break down this episode. Are we ready?
I am ready.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, let's jump right into it. For the cold open, Vice President Mike Pence, Trump's human shield, gets the COVID vaccine on live TV with a cameo from Maya Rudolph. So, Steve, welcome back. What'd you think of the cold open?
It's great to be back. Thanks very much. And yeah, I thought it was pretty okay. We got a new Biden. Not sure if the makeup job on that one was up to par. I hope that improves. But maybe you guys had similar feelings. I don't know if you had anything to say about the makeup job on Biden.
His eyebrows looked weird.
Yeah,
That was definitely part of it. And the sideburns, or the way they kind of blended the wig on, just seemed a little bit hastily done. If I had to be critical of something.
Mm-hmm.
Louis a pro, though. I'm sure they're going to iron that out.
Yeah, for sure. It's the first time. I think it's a great pick, though, to have Alex play the part. You know, he showed he could do it. I really enjoyed the Willy Wonka entrance. But yeah, it was a fun cold open, although it had the cold open clunkiness, which is something we're kind of used to with the first sketch of the night.
Yeah, I think that clunkiness, I think it comes from the walk-ons. Because I think they could have had a really strong cold open that just focused on the game of Mike Pence at the doctor.
Yeah.
But then they said, well, let's get Kamala, let's get our new Joe Biden, let's get Giuliani, and let's get Dr. Ben, what's that guy's name?
Ben Carson.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carson,
And it's just a lot, right? And it starts to feel clunky, like, okay, all right, Kate left, who's coming in stage left? Like, last week, we had such a simple cold open that I really liked with just 3 characters. And this week, I mean, it's still, in terms of, compared to a debate sketch, it's still pretty simple, but they are relying on those walk-ins again. And I think that took away from it a little bit. But I think what got them into that was their excitement to share with us the new Biden. It was Alex Moffat, and I'm really excited that it's Alex Moffat, because I think sometimes he's underappreciated and he's just fantastic, and I think he's going to do a really good job with it. But then it sort of begs the question of, well, why didn't we focus the whole thing on Alex Moffat's Joe Biden? Have they maybe not decided what direction they're going with that yet? They just wanted to get him out there, in front of us to see what happened.
And he kind of played second fiddle to Kamala, a little bit.
Yeah. Which, speaks to real life Joe Biden.
Yeah. So I was going to say, they're kind of stealing from the Biden campaign playbook, right? Like, we'll keep him in the basement. We'll let Kamala kind of be the face of the campaign. And hopefully he doesn't say anything too ridiculous that'll take this thing off the rails before election day. And they kind of joked on that, right? Like, as soon as Biden starts talking, he's going to put his foot in his mouth. And that's kind of, I think, the angle that they're going to start working. Like, now that it's post-election, it's okay to maybe, jab at Biden a little bit more than before the election. So it looks like maybe that's their take on him. He's a doddering old coot, and he's just going to say things that are just going to, like, kill this whole thing before it's even out of the gate. So we got to kind of keep him in senile grandpa mode and just make sure that he's always got his nurse by his side, so to speak. That was my take on the Biden aspect of the cold open. But like you said, Catherine, too much going on. Did we need to see Giuliani? Like, was there a single zinger in the Giuliani bit that we haven't heard before that was really worth saying, this week. So that's where I think it kind of fell down was they had a little bit there that was fun with Pence to start with. They could have doubled down on that, or if this is the introduction of Biden, go all in on that. But Ben Carson, why? Why now? So yeah, that's my hot take too, is just too much going on. If they're going to introduce Alex, give us a couple minutes with Alex. Let's see what he can really do with the role. And I don't feel like they had necessarily anything written other than the gag of let's get him on stage and off stage as quickly as possible and let Maya do the heavy lifting.
I agree with all of that. Let's keep going though. Maya Rudolph and Kurt McGurgan help Kristen sing about her favorite things. The cameo from writer Streeter Siddell as Santa Claus. So, Steve, did this monologue work for you?
Yeah. Yeah, it made me realize a couple of things about this song that they're goofing on. Yeah, basically the lyrics that they were coming up with were not that much weirder than what is actually the words to this song. And when Kurt McGurgan was singing her part, it was only on my second rewatch I realized, oh, those are the actual lyrics to the song.
Right.
Because it just sounded just as goofy as what Maya and Kristen were singing. So yeah, it was enjoyable, and I don't know, I just have an affinity for just goofiness, just nonsensical dialogue that makes sense syntactically, but just the words are wrong. That's always tickling my funny bone. So this was a fun, not much of a head scratcher monologue, but it was a good time.
Yeah, I had fun with this. It's just goofy, silly stuff, right? I didn't think they went anywhere fantastic with it, but what made it really work for me was just the energy of these three women on stage. So Kristen and Maya, obviously, fantastic to see them together. Add in Kate, and it's just a good time. Like their energy for it was contagious. It's like you could tell they were just having so much fun, and that even if I wasn't, really belly laughing at what they had written, them being there was enough for me. And what really shined for me was how impeccable Kristen and Maya's timing is. So when they were having that back and forth with Kate and doing that thing where they talk over each other just a little bit and just nailing that, like that's fantastic. It's not as easy as it looks. And they haven't lost a beat in their time away from the show and working together every week. So that was really nice to see, and ultimately I think it was a good monologue.
Yeah. I had fun with it because, like you said, there's a lot to appreciate in the performance. And Maya Rudolph, she's a good second beat. Like she can take the joke and just add her own sass to it, which makes it feel like it's going somewhere new, even though it really isn't. So just having her on board is something that's going to help. My only thought on this was, has Kristen Wiig ever not done a musical monologue in her time coming back? Because it seems to me, I didn't do my homework to check, but last time I think it was like a Thanksgiving, the history of Thanksgiving, where it's all about talking about turkeys, but it's I think she's getting all the history wrong. Like she's talking about Egypt and she's talking about like the origins of Thanksgiving, but it's total nonsense. And I thought, that was similar in that she seems to just always be at home when she's in the midst of a musical number. And I thought she did like a big show tune maybe the first time she hosted. I can't
even
remember
her at home monologue was musical, right?
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
of the
exactly.
lullaby,
Yeah. That's right. So I guess this is just, she comes in and she says, look, I'm game for anything. Just let me sing.
Oh, don't make me sing. Oh, don't make me sing. Everyone is dying, but don't make me sing.
So that was my only thought, is that this seems to be something that she probably, if not insists on, is just really happy to keep that tradition going. And that's nice to see.
All right, let's get into our first sketch then. Secret Word welcomes back Mindy Elise Grayson for their holiday episode. So Steve, are you a fan of these sketches, and did you like this new update?
Well, I enjoy, first and foremost, Kristen's performance and just the different ways she finds to do the same thing over and over, basically. She really sells that inability to keep a word as an actress. Like that whole extravagant premise is just it's very flavorful. And yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different. They use it as an opportunity to give some of the new cast members some roles to play. And I think when a host does a character from the past, that's a great time to do that. So yeah, it was a great kind of baton passing ceremonial type of sketch, mixing new and old.
Yeah, that sort of baton passing stood out to me too, because you had Kristen and then you have Kate, who's, one of the more veteran cast members right now. And then Keenan, of course, is the host, and then letting them do this thing, but getting those brand new supporting players in there with them. And it did feel very generational in that way. I liked that about it.
Yeah.
Aside from that, it's a fun character. It's not my favorite Kristen Wiig character, but they can't do my favorite every single time she's on, so it's okay. And I liked this, but I actually felt like the character they wrote for Kate wasn't the best to put in there this time. This was the first sketch, post monologue, and I would have preferred to see across from Kristen someone, high energy, and I felt like Kate's character sort of brought it down a little bit. And I get that that's what they were trying to do with that character. I don't know, I sort of felt like I would have made a different choice with who to put up against her. But, it had some good lines. I thought rimming the tree was a great joke. So, John, did it win for you?
Barely. Kristen's performance puts this over, but I felt like pretty much everything else about this seemed a little played out. I love it when they bring back a classic sketch if there's been enough time for them to really fill it with things that feel inspired and just keep pace with what we remember the sketch to be. And I feel like everything other than Kristen in this just wasn't really keeping pace.
Yeah, a little bit middle of the road. Let's keep going. Christmas morning is here and everyone has opened their cool new gifts. But Mom unwrapped a robe. Just a robe. With a cameo from Chloe's dog, Peach, who I was thrilled to see.
It's an
Good
adorable
job,
dog.
Peach.
Peach did great. So, Steve, what won about this one?
Not the mom, unfortunately. But hey, you mark my words, this year will be like record number of presents for mothers after we all got this kick in the ass. But oh yeah, I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it's, the truth in that is what is so funny about it. You don't laugh unless you're at least a little bit uncomfortable, right?
Right.
But what I really loved is Kristen's commitment to it. I think this is what really makes it work, is that she's kind of half-assing her performance. Like, she's speaking in the cadence of like rapping, but she's barely making rhymes, and you could she's playing it as if she showed up unprepared. It was just like, whatever, I got my robe, I'm just going to be part of the rap and then get to cooking breakfast. Like that really comes through in the performance. So this is golden stuff. One of my favorites of the night.
Yeah, I absolutely loved this. I thought it was fantastic. Such a great truism, right? Moms get shafted on gifts all the time. It sucks. And to execute it the way they did was where the craziness comes from. And I think you can kind of see Stephen Castillo and Dan Bueller, who wrote it, coming through in how they chose to execute that. Because you could have had a sketch where everyone opens a present and then Mom opens a robe. And everyone opens a present and, maybe Mom opens a second robe and all Mom gets are robes. So there's a lot of ways you could go with this observation. But this is a really fun, let's make a Beastie Boys-esque family rap video. And Mom's just only going to get a robe. what a great execution of this idea. And I was having so much fun with it. I sent it to my mom before I went to bed last night. Like, that's how good it was. A 2 a.m. text to my mom. So yeah, huge win for me. John, how about you?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's definitely a smart, true thing that they found to highlight. The song itself is fun. Everything is just lit like super bright and festive, and everyone is high energy and like kind of gonzo in the frame. Like there's so much mirth and energy. And then you cut to Kristen and she's so deflated and just kind of at her wit's end and trying to hold it in because, moms feel pain on the inside.
It hurt pretty bad, but I didn't even scream because I keep the pain inside of me.
That's nice. That's nice direction. Paul Briganti deserves a little bit of appreciation
Absolutely.
for helping to realize it as well. Kristen Wiig's performance, perfect. Like I haven't put on makeup yet, but nobody's even listening. Mom does not have a voice in this scenario. She's just there to facilitate everyone else's joy. And it's an oddly beautiful thing to highlight because what they're saying is this isn't right. We do appreciate you. We do see you. We know that it goes overlooked sometimes way too long, but here's a moment to recognize that. That feels good. That's fun, festive fare. I can totally get on board with this.
All right. Well, huge wins there. Up next, some troops in 1944 are treated to a holiday talent show, including a rather unique duet with a cameo from Dua Lipa. Steve, how was this one?
Just another one of those generational baton passing sketches that I'm loving about tonight. There's probably somebody out there who has their dream cast include these two people. But for the sketch, what I really liked about it is that they really sold the old timiness in that setup. The transatlantic accents, the dated turns of phrase, they were all done very, very well. And yeah, the costumes, the set, it all really did take me back. And the fact that I was taken back so effectively allowed me to really appreciate just how out of place that music is and that, non-existent genre at the
Right.
time. So yeah, that is where we had a really great liftoff pad for Kristen and Bowen and Dua Lipa goofiness.
Yeah, this was fun. The juxtaposition of the army guys, and then he gets up there and he's playing the girl's part, and they're singing this crazy song that, like you said, would never exist in this time.
Of
But
course.
just such delightful goofiness. The choreography.
They're nailing the choreo.
They're nailing the choreo. The one where they just did the quick little humps just made me cackle every time I've watched this. I've probably watched it like 3 times, and that gets me every single time. So this one was super great. John, what'd you like?
I like that they didn't attempt to veil the song in old timey terms. Like there's probably a version of the sketch where they're singing about risque things, but they're doing it in a way that would seem at home in a USO show. But they get up there and there's a split second where both of the characters stop being old timey and they've got,
Right.
the cell phones up to their ears and they're doing the back and forth little, banter before they get into it. And you can tell that they've picked up that air, that modern sensibility. And then of course, the music and everything just supports that idea that these guys are living in a completely different time. And so you'd think that the audience would be bewildered and turned off and just not be able to keep pace with it. But the fun thing of the sketch is that everybody gets on board. By the second verse, everybody knows exactly what they're watching. And for some reason, all of these modern references make sense to them. And so there's a little something that is just charming about kind of how everybody is on board with this. And it isn't that sketch of, this is an awkward thing and nobody is embracing it because it's out of time and it's not appropriate and nobody likes it for some reason. This is just a little bit more joyful and a heck of a lot of fun.
All right. Another high mark.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into this pre-tape. Season 2 of Hulu's A Teacher features a plot twist when Miss Williams turns out not to be a pedophile. So, Steve, what'd you like about it?
Well, I thought this was really well filmed, and I really felt like I was watching like a streaming kind of basic cable level show with a slight tinge of prestige, but still for mass appeal. It definitely had that, I don't know, Riverdale kind of CW quality to it. That really what worked here. And Ego, just kind of crashing the walls down around this whole setup and just basically responding it to it as most reasonable people would in the real world. And I love that. It's it's the cinematic blur that's completely unaffected by this one character who like sees through it all and it's just like, yeah, this is wrong and this is not something that would happen to to a professional teacher, blah blah blah. And it just goes beautifully from there. And yeah, this is all sold by Ego. Ego is the real star here.
I can't imagine a part better suited for Ego than this just perfectly exasperated voice of reason. She did such a good job in it. And I have not watched this show yet on Hulu, but I've seen the ads. When I was in high school, there was a kid in my grade that hooked up with a teacher. And you just kind of scratch your head like, how did this sweaty, pimply teenage boy walk up to you and was like, Miss Aaron, let's get it. And she was like, okay. Like, I do not understand how this started. And I think about it all the time. So for them to put this in how I feel like that conversation obviously should go and most of the time would go was just hilarious. It speaks to something that I spend too much time thinking about. And so I was having a lot of fun with it. I didn't feel like there was a ton of heightening here, but I think if they would have heightened too much, it wouldn't have felt as real. So I can't fault them there, but I do just have to call out the line of,
yeah, I've got that swagger that you have when you're not a pedophile.
That line was phenomenal. That just really tickled me. It's so good.
Beautiful.
We're not having sex in my car. My car's new.
Right?
just
that drove it home.
So blunt, and absolutely the first thought that should come into your mind. Like, hell no. Right. Yeah, exactly. I loved Ego in this. She brought that character to life, and every line was delivered impeccably well. Andrew Desmukes, you guys kind of touched on it. I liked that he is not an innocent boy getting taken advantage of in this situation. He's trying to play her. He's trying to get a grade. He's trying to make things happen because he's a villain. He's the problem in this situation. And he's using his charm to try and get what he wants in this situation. But you just see how, first off, how lame his game is. Like he's doing something that he thinks is effective that may work with girls his own age or whatever, but she's seeing right through it. And it's fun to see him flailing, but never reveal that he's even slightly not confident that this is going to happen. Like there's something very cool about how he was staying in it. Like he's continuing to just try and smolder there and hope that, he's going to be able to break down these barriers. I like that. I really liked what we were seeing. You called it, Catherine. It needed to go somewhere else. When I watch sketches like this, there's two ways to parse it. You can either say, okay, well, this is just a peek in on a situation and it's not supposed to go anywhere other than just let these characters explore and have conflict. And that's as much as we need from it. But sometimes you do need it to say something else or go somewhere else. And I don't feel like Kristen Wiig made it go anywhere else fun. And so I
Mhm.
at the end of it, I just thought, you know what, I would have liked to spend a little bit more time in this world. And maybe there was something else that they could have tapped into from that show. I don't know what it is, so I can't fault them because what we got was great. I think there was a second gear here that needed to be found.
Mhm.
And we didn't get that on this one. So a win for the performances, but I wanted more. If I'm loving it, I want more.
All right. Well, John, I feel like you summed up my own thoughts better than I did. So full ditto to everything John offered.
Very good.
Let's keep going. A deleted scene from Home Alone 2 shows a darker side of the pigeon lady. So, Steve, what won about this?
What one? The fact that I've watched the Home Alone movie so many times and never thought about how much more Kevin could have done for the pigeon lady
Right?
in Home
Right.
Alone. Like he really did go overboard with treating himself. I mean, go nuts, but like so yeah, this raises some fun questions. But whatever, that's all fun. I just want to give props to the costume department. And I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
give costumes to the prop department. I just thought they did a really great job getting all of the costumes exactly right from the movie.
Mhm.
They had Kevin's jacket and hat. Harry and Marv were spot on. And yeah, Kristen's not like a big match for the lady who plays Pigeon Lady. I forget the actress's name. She's like won Oscars and stuff. But yeah, she was she got the voice right at least.
Mhm.
So I guess my main point is that I appreciated the accuracy to a movie that I've watched literally like 500 times at least.
Right.
So
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
SNL's so good at parody and matching all that kind of stuff and doing such a great job making it look and feel like what they're trying to parody.
yes.
So absolutely, props where props are due. I loved Melissa Villaseñor as Kevin. What fun, amazing casting that was.
It
And
was great.
she did such a good job with it. I just loved that. That brought me so much joy to see. As for the sketch, I think it is a really good observation because he does this thing. He gives her a turtle dove ornament, and we're meant to believe that it's this great gesture and oh, how sweet that is. But like, she's still a homeless woman who does not have a Christmas tree. So, all right, whatever. And so that was really fun to play with. And I was having a good time with this. I felt like it was a little slow, like beat 2 didn't really take me anywhere great. And then we get Harry and Marv come in and she stabs them to death. So it ultimately went to like these great heightened crazy town places, but the pacing felt a little off, I guess. You know, I felt like we were kind of we stabbed some people.
Right.
So that took me out a little bit and sort of drew it back. But again, I'm having fun with it. So a little bit middle of the road, but overall a win.
Mhm. You're right. Melissa inhabited that role. I was getting shades of Sherry O'Terry, and that's a compliment actually, because Sherry O'Terry was kind of the master of juvenile boy performances when she was on the show. And just for some reason, that's kind of what I was picking up from Melissa in this role, that I was buying her as Kevin McAllister. And I think that's
Oh,
fun.
absolutely.
But I was more intrigued by the fact that they started pummeling Marv and Harry, right? Pesci,
Harry and Marv
Stern.
is they're
Yeah.
called by the
The Wet
fan base.
Bandits.
Right, the Wet Bandit. So she starts pummeling them Looney Tune style with the rotating fists, right? And so they are saying very clearly that we are in the Acme Looney Tunes logic of violence that you get in Home Alone, right? Like
Right.
an iron can fall on Marv's head and he's just gonna like get back up, or they're gonna
Right.
it's a hot door knob that should burn the flesh from his hands, but for some reason they keep going on, nails through feet, all the rest of it. So we're in that universe, and then she bludgeons them to death, and apparently it sticks, pun intended. So I'm not sure if that confused me or if I just really like the idea that they're stepping back and saying, no, in a moment of desperation, if Bird Lady needs to dispatch these guys to get her hotel room, she's going to finish the job that you would never see in the movies because of the slapsticky cartoon logic of it all. The fact that they deviate from that and it becomes this, horrific blood splattering scene. And then she lays all that burden at the feet of Kevin McAllister. No, we killed them. Like, it got very dark there. And so I like that turn, but I feel like they could have explored that more. Like, maybe they do a few things in the cartoon logic realm to try and best them, and it just ain't happening. And eventually, she has to just take measures into her own hands. Maybe there was more to explore there that could have been fun. That said, what we got was perfectly enjoyable. That was so intriguing to me that I would have liked that to get built upon in a, some fictitious draft that will never exist.
There's a whole other sketch you can make about just the cartoon physics being removed from Home Alone and letting it play out.
Exactly. Like, what would happen if the first booby trap that Kevin McAllister ever did just killed them dead? Like the paint cans, the first thing, the paint cans, right? Like, what if that just did them in, and then it's just Kevin McAllister has to go to juvenile hall because, he's a young offender. Like, that's a whole nother potential sketch that has nothing to do with what they were going for. But if you're going to change the logic of the universe, I want to play in that for a little bit. So that's my only thought is I wanted, much like the earlier sketch, I wanted more in a world that was intriguing me.
I think that's fair. Maybe next Christmas we'll get
the
other side of this story.
I would love to see it. I would love to see it.
All right. Well, let's talk about our musical guest. Dua Lipa performs Don't Start Now and Levitating. Steve, how'd you feel about it?
Yeah, Dua Lipa's fun. She is not a pop artist that I dislike. There's definitely
high praise.
I mean, it's pop music. You know what you're getting. It's great production value. They put some money in the person, so they look good and sound good. This is a very well supported artist that's, really selling a certain image, and I think it's done well. She's a good singer. I mean, she's not up there lip syncing. You can tell she's not backtracked or any of that. So, the performance felt natural, and yeah.
This was good. The first song I really like. I had no idea it was Dua Lipa. So that was a fun learning experience for me. I felt like my mother. It's like, oh, that's who sings this song. I didn't know that. And my husband was like, we listen to this all the time.
Yeah.
You should have known that.
I have a realization like that every day.
It's a great song. It's super catchy. It always makes me want to move. And that's what Dua Lipa's style is. Pop music to dance to. And I think Dua Lipa is actually, a pretty unique pop artist. I think she stands out to me more as an artist than someone like, say, Ariana Grande. Like, I think Dua Lipa is much more involved in her production and writing, and I don't know. She seems a little bit more like an artist to me. I have no information to back that up. So, how about you, John?
We had Lanny on a couple casts back, and she was really jazzed, and she thinks the world of Dua Lipa. So I was going into this thinking, have I written Dua Lipa off as just like a dance hall act that is unremarkable to me? Like, am I missing something? Is there some talent here that transcends the typical like dance pop act? I struggled to find it. She's competent. She does everything perfectly good. Like, she is a good product. She presents well. She's cute, as Steve pointed out. The production that they have behind her and her outfits and her dancers, everything is fun. And she can sing perfectly good. I would not put her in Ariana Grande's league as far as vocal chops, but what she does perfectly well. And the songs are fine if that's what you're into. It's not what I was into. So I was still struggling to find anything that was really moving me or like really like making me give it a second look and say, oh, you know what, this goes a little deeper. There's something here that I think, is respectable. I think she's just making the music for the club. And I think that is a purpose that needs to be filled. And I think she's doing it admirably, but it ain't my scene. And I just can't offer anything beyond that.
You just have to do a leap of faith.
Oh, that's the third time you've made that joke on this cast.
How many times has Dua
really
Lipa been on?
Yeah. She's only been on twice, and you've managed to make the joke 3 times.
This is what I missed about Steve.
Oh my.
All right, well, interesting takes on Dua Lipa.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into Weekend Update. Jost and Shay discuss the end of Trump's presidency and do their yearly joke swap, which is always a good time. So, John, how about you go first? What'd you think of Weekend Update?
For the opening salvo, I was not super hot on it. I did like the second part. Like, obviously, when they do their yearly joke swap, I almost consider that a mini feature in and of itself. That always works. That's evergreen content. But the rest of it, not only did a few jokes just fall flat, either in the delivery or in the audience reaction, but I just didn't feel like they had anything amazing to say. I don't know what else to offer. I didn't think that this was a great showing for them personally. And until, of course, their last bit, which is fun.
Right. No, I totally agree. I thought the most of the jokes were pretty mediocre. A lot of them didn't land. The ones that did, I didn't think were huge winners until we got to the joke swap, which, like you said, is always fantastic. And I thought it was shorter this year than it has been previously, but it all paid off when we got to the ScarJo joke.
It was announced that Creed singer Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra in an upcoming movie. But the good news is Sammy Davis Jr. will be played by Scarlett Johansson.
Man, what a brilliant joke that is. There's so many layers to that and so much to unpack there. And I loved it. But you're absolutely right. The rest of their desk fare was just very mad this week. Steve, you concur?
Yeah. I guess I'm not crazy after all. There was something just not there that's been really, putting Weekend Update on the higher end of things to see on SNL. With all the falling flat that we were seeing, it was making me consider something and appreciating something about what Jost and Shay have basically set up at this point, and that's that the distance that they've created between themselves and the jokes they tell. And it's a mixture of doing the joke trading bit that we'll see later, and just generally making jabs at each other in their own jokes. They've created a kind of a lowered accountability. They've been able to tell jokes and present it under that vibe of, I'm made to say this. This was written for me. So when jokes like, the Utah Jazz, being called Jazz and being the only black people in Utah, like that's a joke that's racy, but also not enough to really land properly. But the fact that Jost could just bury his head in his hands and say, "Oh, I can't believe I was made to say that." There's a bit of a Faraday cage that's been created for dipping their toe into that. A protective shield from doing more controversial material. It works well for them. It also kind of helps soften the blow of an off night like this one.
You're not wrong there, Steve. It feels like they've gotten maybe a little too comfortable in letting a joke bomb because they know that they can catch each other. Jost can wink at it and seem a little, crestfallen, while Che is laughing at him, which is getting a laugh from the audience. The fact that Che is reveling in Jost's misery and his failure, that becomes the joke. And I don't want them to go to that well too many times. I want the material itself to soar. And when they need to catch each other because it's live TV and that's why you have two anchors, great, do it. But it seems like maybe they're going to that a little too much. And it's becoming a little too easy to throw the joke away if they're not really confident in it. So yeah, there's something there.
One interesting thing is that the past couple weeks, we've commented that we felt like maybe some stuff was falling flat because there was a lack of energy from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
But this week, it actually really stood out to me that the audience was a hot audience. They were excited when the camera panned to Colin. We had like a full 5 seconds of screaming.
Yeah, it was theirs to lose. Yeah,
yeah. We can't pass that blame off this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these 3 features we got. Up first, Smokey Robinson now knows what Chinooka is and wants to teach us all about Judaism. John, what'd you like about it?
I like seeing Chris Redd at the desk. We haven't gotten a whole lot of him the last few episodes. This was a fun
been
character.
out of town.
Yeah. So this was fun. He does a good Smokey because Smokey has a very high register that he talks in, and he's able to do that to really good effect. And it helps sell the innocence of the character. When the character says he has no idea what a Jew is, you kind of believe it. And I really liked them taking such a silly headline of Smokey Robinson mispronouncing Hanukkah, and they got this much mileage out of it. And it all just hung on Chris Redd being able to just do what he does with such a dumb little vocal effect. But I liked it. I really, really liked it. I think that they got so many more laughs out of this than they should have been able to. And I got to call that a win.
I hadn't seen the headline or seen the video prior to this. And then I went back and watched it and I was like, how do you top this guy saying Chinooka 100 times with full sincerity? But they did, because what was really smart was that they didn't just talk about mispronouncing Hanukkah. They said, if this is true, what else is true?
Yep.
And they went into all of the things that he wouldn't understand and wouldn't be able to read. And does he even know what Jewish people are? And I thought that was really smart, and I was having a lot of fun with it.
Yep.
And always great to see Chris behind the desk. It's not something we get too often. So a win for me too.
Yep, you're absolutely right to point out that as far as sketchcraft is concerned, that it is a perfect example of, if this is where we're starting, if this is what we know is true, what follows on. And they explored it marvelously.
Well, the first thing you have to do is just ignore the fact that Chris Redd is far too young to be playing Smokey Robinson.
This is true.
They never feel the need to age up people in comedy to play people that they're older than. Although with the plastic surgery that Smokey's had, he's he's pretty smooth like an egg, still in his old age. I think they really tapped into something though. People have gotten to know Smokey Robinson as a personality over the years. He's never been shy from doing daytime talk shows and all that. And he's a little bit weird, he has a childish sense of wonderment. Like he always comes out like, oh, wow, everything's so wonderful. Like it must be good drugs. But I love that they tapped into that.
Definitely. All right. Well, let's talk about our next feature then. Willie is here to tell us about his experience with the COVID vaccine. John, were you excited to see Willie again?
Oh, I do love Willie. And he's not overused. This might be the first time in a season or two. Happy to have him back. I think COVID is a great enough topic to mine some good Willie jokes out of. They found some sufficiently disturbing things for Willie to get up to. So all the elements that are needed to make a good Willie outing were there. So I have nothing bad to say about it. Keenan always delivers these with aplomb, and just the thought of putting peanut butter on the end of a shotgun, because nothing else is working.
What a dark joke.
Yeah, it is just fun. Just there's a Mad Libs quality to it. You know exactly what needs to be inserted where for this to do what Willie does. But darn it all if they don't insert it with some really, really disturbing things that I enjoy hearing Willie talk about.
Definitely. I love Willie, and I think what makes Willie work so well is that Keenan delivers it as if he's still on All That. He delivers it in such a Nickelodeon quality
Yeah.
with these dark jokes about shooting a dog. And that's what just really makes it so fantastic. I thought this was super fun. They found, like you said, John, great places, COVID places to go with Willie. You know,
Mhm.
they filled in those blanks so well with such great specificity, and just what a fun scenario to put Willie into. So huge win for me.
Willie's always welcome on my television screen. I think the day they should retire Willie is the day I see a Willie sketch and I don't want to adopt the poor bastard by the end of it. You know, it's such a great thing to, think about because he definitely is supposed to be an older character. He's definitely supposed to be up there in age. He has that wisdom uh cadence to his voice. Now that doesn't match up with his decisions and experiences, but that's the thing. Like he seems to be tragically born without any ability to feel pain or discomfort or any regret or self-reflection at all. But it seems to have gone unnoticed in society because he's this way and he can't complain or see the injustice in anything done to him or that he does. So yeah, it's just, it's fun to think about how far Willie has gone unsupervised, even though he clearly needs more help than most people in the world. That is the beauty of Willie.
All right. Well, up next we had Landis Trotter at the desk giving us a holiday gift guide full of hashtag ads. John, what'd you think of Heidi's new character?
I liked it. This feels very Heidi. What I really like is when we have a cold open that doesn't sprawl so far into the front half of the show that we have time for a full episode of SNL and a third weekend update feature. I'm glad that she was able to get this one through this week. Fun character, fun that she's just unabashedly switching into pitchman mode. You know, like she's trying to be sincere, and that's the key of being an influencer is you have your audience needs to believe that you actually care about them and that these are sincere things that you want to present to them. But then she just is so nakedly pitching these products. I think that's fun. I think she delivers it well. I was interested at how she kind of devolves into Pretty Mandy about halfway through and then turns the influencer persona back on. I think that's fun to kind of peel back the layers and see the true damage of this character. So I enjoyed this ride. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Heidi character because she set a high bar with a couple characters that I genuinely love. But I feel like this was good. This was definitely worth seeing at the desk.
Yeah, I agree. It's not my new favorite character, but it was definitely a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And something that grinds my gears way more than it should is when I'm watching a YouTube video or an Instagram video and it's like a guy remodeling his house and then he has a 5-minute ad in the middle for like NordVPN and you're like, what does this have to do with anything? And it just is so out of context and so clearly forced and there's a weird transition into it. So I thought this was a really fun thing to play with, someone doing ads on Weekend Update. And I thought they did fun stuff because they didn't just go with typical things that we see a lot of hashtag ads for.
Right. They're totally out of place with her target audience. She's pitching Dune to moms or whatever. Yeah.
Right. But like, not only that, it's like you would never see, or at least I would never see an ad for Dune in that way. Like it's usually like the big ones are like Simply Safe,
Right.
but this is like X-ray machines. Like, so like they took it to places where like it's weird stuff she's pitching in addition to just being obnoxious about it. And I thought that was really smart. And yeah, a fun new character. I wouldn't hate to see her back for sure.
I mean, yeah, it's very Heidi for sure. This ticks a lot of boxes off of Heidi's typical go-tos for a lot of her comedy writing. You know, it's definitely dark. It's on the dark side. There's definitely a stripping away of the character to see what's underneath. All of that, and yeah, almost to a fault, she does a lot of stuff oriented with social media. A lot of her characters are on YouTube, Instagram. Uh, it's countered by some of the, the movie trope roles she does on Weekend Update and other things, but she definitely does speak more to that digital native generation, which isn't a bad thing. But sometimes, when you're getting up in age, like, I don't know, nobody in this room, uh, sometimes you kind of feel like you're being left behind when you see so much digital media stuff take over your SNL. But that's a mild complaint because the character was pretty well thought out, and yeah.
All right. Well, some middling desk fare buoyed by some really good features, right? We're pretty hot on
Really
all
good.
features.
Yeah, at least the features were good.
They definitely saved Weekend Update.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of that and into learning that the Grinch's heart wasn't the only thing that grew 3 sizes after he saved Christmas. Steve, how'd you feel about this Grinch fan fiction?
I grew 3 sizes for sure.
Yeesh.
In my heart from the nostalgia that came from watching this.
wholesome.
Didn't care for, what they did with the characters. It was a little bit too adult for me. But hey, that's, we're getting towards the end of the night. So this is what happens. Very reminiscent of stuff like I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus, the song that Cecily sang. But hey, it's a funny concept, and the innocence of a child, and just what goes over their head at that age. It's funny to watch, as a fly on the wall. And gosh, yeah, I don't know where they came from, where the idea came from to do it with the Grinch. For some reason, they always want to put in these raunchy jokes. Like if you watch the Jim Carrey movie, like they do the keys in a fishbowl thing. They're always putting these raunchy jokes in with Dr. Seuss stuff. I guess it just invites it, the whole playfulness of it.
Dr. Seuss is a weird world,
Yeah, it's already a bit of a fever dream.
Speaking of where this came from, I was shocked to learn that Jasmine Pierce did not write this sketch. Because she has a thing about posting on Instagram about how hilarious it is that people have Grinch kinks and like sexy Grinch stuff. It's a thing that exists on the internet, and she thinks it's the funniest thing in the world. And I agree with her. So this came on, and I was like, yes, Jasmine finally wrote the Grinch sketch. And then to the point that she posted on her Instagram story today, I did not write the Grinch sketch.
Interesting.
It turns out I think it's a Streeter and Mikey joint.
I'm sure she walked by the office and checked in on the Grinch sketch for sure.
Maybe they were inspired by some of her posts about sexy Grinch. So I was a little bit primed to this sketch in that I've seen this stuff on the internet, and I was very excited about it because I think it is hilarious. And this was such a fun place to go. I like it when they take these wholesome kids things like the I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus sort of deal and just make it a little darker. So I thought this was really good. They took it to great places. I wish it wasn't COVID so we could have seen Mikey fully kiss the Grinch. But, these are the times we're living in, so I'll settle. Yeah, I loved this. John, what'd you think?
They'll go back and remaster that.
Sure. I like a lot about it. I like everything to do with the world and the production and the makeup and the costuming and just digging deep on Seuss references, even Even Mikey's shirt, it's like, Whoville you? So you know
Mhm.
what? We all sleep in old tattered, t-shirts, right? Like that's a thing, like that's what you go to bed in. So of course, if you are a Whovian, uh, from Whoville, you probably went to university in Whoville, and someone thought,
Mhm.
let's give him a old University of Whoville t-shirt. And those
Mhm.
little things are not lost on me. I love all of that. I also love that Pete Davidson was doing some acting. Like he
Mhm.
wasn't Pete. He was the Grinch, and he was trying to pull off his best Grinchy accent and just really grime up the role as much as he could. And I thought that he was handling that really well. It helps that he had amazing prosthetics. So
Yeah.
big shout out to
Oh,
Louis'
yeah.
team on that. But um Pete really brought a lot to this sketch. And just yeah, all the little details, even the toys that the kids had are all like who's it's and what's it's and Susian type words. Um, all that's great. And I even like the the notion that, maybe 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 this couple needed to spice up their relationship, and the Grinch just happened to be in the right place at the right time. That is a really weird but fun thing to latch onto. I I guess maybe this is the running theme of the night for me. I wanted them to take it somewhere else, it's interesting to watch the kids not quite understand what they're getting at and them have to kind of speak in veiled terms. Like that's fun, but as they get more amorous with each other and it becomes obvious what's going on, it seemed like there was some sort of a second gear for it that just didn't happen. There was this quick button where Pete just yells at them to get out of the house, and that seemed like a very
Mhm.
abrupt and awkward way to get out of the sketch. And I thought there was more that could have happened in this, but I can't be mad at what we saw because it was a lot of fun, and it's
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
idea and just beautifully realized in that Seussian world.
You made a good point
Absolutely.
about Pete and bringing the performance.
Mhm.
So
Pete's really
good for
showing up
him.
lately.
Yeah, he's
Um,
showing up
I'm
to
really
work.
impressed with
That's
him.
good.
one of our oldest and truest listeners, Pretty in Pink, was talking on Twitter today and made a really good point that I wanted to steal. And that is that it would appear from an episode like what we got tonight that Andrew Desmukes is being handed the resident young person, wild-eyed child roles, and it's kind of creating a bit more space for Pete to be taken on these meteor roles. And it's
Hmm.
just interesting to see that because for so long Pete was the stand-up kid that they hired because he's got some cachet with the millennials, and all of a sudden he's doing like some serious sketch comedy. And so it's just interesting to see him fully inhabiting the senior player mode and taking on these kind of roles and handling them really, really well.
All right. Well, the last sketch of the night. Katie surprising her grandpa for Christmas. But will Sue be able to keep the secret? No, she will not. Ever. Steve, were you happy to see this character back?
You know, as it was playing out, I really wanted to enjoy this one as much as I've enjoyed some of these sketches in the past. Uh, I don't know. It just did not seem as inspired. And I felt it was kind of copying a lot of the beats that we saw from the last time we saw Kristen do this character. It seemed oddly familiar. And I don't know, I just felt like I was watching more of a rerun than a revisiting of
Mhm.
this character.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. This this is a character I like, but a character that was pretty played out before Kristen ever even left SNL.
yeah, true.
Mhm.
Uh so to bring it back now is okay. If you were gonna do something really new with it, I could get on board. It's a fun character. I like the character. But they didn't. It did. It just felt like a rerun. They didn't, and it don't feel like it heightened to the same great places. I did love her coming in the chimney. I thought that was a fantastic moment. That really got me. But all of the beats up until that point were just so exactly what I expected that it just really wasn't doing anything for me. So, I mean, that's really all I have to say about
Couldn't we have gotten like a Christmas Target lady sketch?
it.
Wouldn't
Right?
that be great?
A COVID Christmas Target lady?
Yeah, she's wearing the mask. She's behind plexiglass, trying to keep her spirits up. There's a sketch there. There is a
Yeah.
sketch there.
Mm-hmm. There's
I
new
just
things
wanna
to say
touch
with
you
that
through
character.
the glass.
Mhm.
That'd be great.
We had 5 sketches before Weekend Update and 2 after Weekend Update. And I feel like it's kind of appropriate to play one hit per half. And so we got
Mhm.
Secret Word up front, just to remind everyone why they love Kristen Wiig and what she can do with a role. And I feel like maybe they just thought, well, in the back half, we got room to do that again. Do the greatest hits, let's pull one out. This feels like one of the more tired greatest hits. She has done this since she's come back to the show. I think it was again that Thanksgiving one that was maybe 2 hosting gigs back. She did this as well. And even at that time, I remember thinking, oh yeah, she always does great with the character, but there's just nothing more to do with this character.
Mhm.
And it felt even more, uh, yeah, it, just unnecessary this time around. I wonder if they'd pulled maybe Home Alone or something and put that at the end of the show and just kind of protected this so that this wasn't the last sketch of the night, like the thing that we go out on. If maybe it would have felt a little better, but it feels like this was just not what I wanted to see to round out the night. I wanted something else that was a little fresher, a little more surprising. And yeah, so I think maybe this could have sat better somewhere else in the show, but it definitely wasn't the capper for the night that I wanted personally.
I think that's totally fair. Let's get into our thoughts and ratings, huh? We'll start with moment of the night. Steve, what was it?
Oh, moment of the night. You actually mentioned it already. It was Ego's line.
Yeah, I've got that swagger that you have when you're not a pedophile.
It's like,
That's
I'm
a
just
great
going to
line.
burst. It bursts the whole thing wide open in that one line. It's like, yeah, the
Mhm.
reason you're attracted to me is the reason that I'm not attracted to you, basically.
Right.
Yeah, it just sums everything up in such a perfect line. So
The bluntness of that character
Mhm.
is what really sold it. I had a hard time with moment of the night because my overall thesis statement on this episode is that it was an episode full of really great moments and really average sketches.
Mm.
Each sketch had one thing at least that I was like, "Oh, that was a great line. Oh, that was fantastic." But a lot of them just never really got into a full great category that I was like, "That was a fantastic sketch." But yeah, so a night full of moments. I'm ultimately going to go with the ScarJo joke just because I think that was so fantastic. I love the joke swap, and I thought that was a nice layered joke, and we love to bring up Colin and Scarlett Johansson. So what's not to love there? John, what's your moment?
I love it because of what it says thematically and also in how it was just realized on screen. But the reveal of Chloe's dog Peaches in our, put upon mother pre-tape, it's just so perfect that the mother, she just kind of lifts her head and she thinks, oh, they do appreciate me. They do love me. And then no, it's like hard cut to this adorable puppy that of course, how could they not love this little puppy more than they love their mom or just like be thinking more of wanting to shower it with gifts because
Right.
that dog, I'm sure was like genetically cooked up for maximum adorability. Like puppies do not come cuter than that little puffball. He looks like they took a hairdryer and just like made him like took his hair and gave it maximum fluff potential. Like just everything about him says, I just want to squeeze you and love you. And you can lick my nose because you're the most adorable thing. So
okay,
the
Elmira.
fact that yeah, exactly. I want to hug you and squeeze you and love you forever. The fact that that's what upstages the mom and steals away her moment of gratitude. And the fact that they take it and they've got the floor shot of the puppy running at you, and then they're doing these staccato cuts in time with the rap beat. So you're almost getting like a record scratch cut of the puppy in the midst of all the presents and the puppy in the robe, and just it's full on puppy mode. And I just don't think that there's a better way to say we don't appreciate you, mom, than to have this whole
Yeah.
big like second movement in the song about puppy and just how adorable that puppy is. And if they had like a beagle or something, it just wouldn't have worked as well. It had to be that little fluff ball. And I just it's nice when something like that comes together and has the visual punch to really sell the gag.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There, Chloe's dog. That's my moment.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's talk about the best sketch then. Steve, what was it?
Woo! Best sketch. I'm going to give it to the Home Alone 2 sketch. Probably because my sister would kill me if I didn't. And I mean, maybe it wasn't the greatest sketch of the night, but I feel like this is where the whole crew shone in kind of recreating the look and feel of Home Alone 2 on Studio 8H.
Absolutely. They really nailed it down to Melissa's little collar peeking out
Mhm.
over her sweater. You know,
Yes,
they did a great
perfect.
job. I think for me, far and away, the best sketch was Christmas morning with the robe and the mom.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sketch just really soared above all of the rest of them for me. I thought it was really great, excellent observation, executed really well, great direction, great writing, great performances. There was nothing not to like about it for me. So, congrats,
It is.
John. How about you?
Agreed. I think tonight has to come down to the pre-tapes. We had some fun stuff
Mhm.
for features on Weekend Update, but like you said, all the sketches had moments, or maybe they had a great core idea. There was something to like about everything tonight, but there wasn't an end-to-end total win as much as we got with the Christmas morning pre-tape. It was just really well realized. They picked the right genre to bring it out, musically. And Kristen Wiig, she actually is really good as kind of a low key put upon mom. It was really really nicely realized. So Stephen Castillo, Dan Beulah, and Paul Briganti, they we've been saying their names a lot this season because
We have.
I think we're seeing like duos forming among the junior writing staff, and that's nice to see.
Very good. Let's talk about the MVP then. Steve, who is it?
Got to give it to Kristen. She was definitely a host with a lot to carry. That's always expected of a cast member with a repertoire of characters and memories with the show. It's going to be, all on their shoulders. They're basically going to lead every sketch. And yeah, everything that was produced felt like it revolved around her. When she wasn't the focus of attention, there was some kind of connection with her and the next generation of cast members. There was definitely a whole new feel of Kristen Wiig's
Mhm.
presence on the show with this new cast around her. And I thought, it really worked really well.
Yep. I second everything Steve said.
Hmm.
I give it to Kristen. I think it's and it's what happens a lot when you have a veteran come host. They get meatier parts than other hosts get. They get to carry more sketches on their backs than other hosts get to do, and it makes them feel really prevalent. And as much as Kristen did bring that baggage of, well, we have to recur these sketches, and they're maybe not our favorite characters. She did a great job with everything else and really gave us some really great performances. She's an icon. She's fantastic. I do want to give an honorable mention to Andrew Dismukes though, because this he was in a lot and he got a really nice meaty role in that teacher pre-tape, and I think he did a great job with it. And it's always nice to see, a featured player get their first real big episode where they're starting to stand out and get big parts. So big mention there, but Kristen's my ultimate MVP. John, how about you?
Yeah, I was scanning through the rundown here to try and find anyone else to give it to because it's kind of hard to not see that as the obvious choice, and rightfully so. Um, Yeah, honorable mention to Andrew Dismukes, but you can't deny it. Like it's just a Christian Wiig show. There's just nothing else to really say about it. You gotta respect what she's able to do on SNL.
Mhm.
She's just one of those people that was built for the show, and when she comes back, even after so much time away, it feels like she hasn't missed a beat. And
Yep.
you gotta recognize it. She is definitely the MVP tonight.
Yes, it's her home.
All right. On a scale of classic, great, decent, weak, or train wreck, Steve, how would you rate this episode?
I'll give it a great. That was the
Mm.
one. Yeah, the great is definitely what I'm giving it to. I had a lot of fun with this episode. Uh, most of the sketches worked for me, and even the ones that weren't at least had something. There was definitely a lot of moments uh, to grasp on to. Like it really made it a memorable show.
I'm a little torn because on one hand, I want to give it a great because nothing, nothing here fully fell flat. There was not a single sketch that I was just like, nope, not for me. Everything won, but nothing really soared it with the exception of the Christmas morning. Like I said, it's a show filled with tons of great moments and just sketches that were middle of the road. So I think I have to give it a decent in that respect. Even though it was a very even episode. We have a lot of episodes that feel a lot more uneven than this one. Um, but nothing I didn't feel like anything was so exceptional that it's, a new classic sketch. Um, except for the Christmas morning one, which was really good.
Yeah, that'll end up
But
on the holiday reel. Yeah.
right, but everything else was just so, um, just fine. It's a decent.
You're exactly right. It was a really, really fun night that didn't get to any great heights. So I can't say it's great. But along the way, there was still enough that was keeping me interested, at the very least with the live
Mhm.
sketch fair, that it held together. And weekend update features were solid. Monologue was solid. Fun ideas just didn't quite go far enough for me. One really good pre-tape. Well, a couple good pre-tapes. So there's enough here that it's definitely in the decent range, but I don't feel like it got to the great territory that you would hope for from a Kristen Wiig episode, because she can turn in fantastic performances. And I think at this point, maybe just they need to venture a little further away from her tried and true characters, and then maybe we'll have a more inventive show that maybe will surprise us and create a new classic, because they're not playing it safe with the Kristen roles that we know are inevitable. So, uh, not a bad outing, but not a great one.
Yeah. So overall, maybe not the best episode, but certainly one to have fun with.
Sure.
And leading us into a long break here over the holidays. So, John, what do you have going on while we're off?
That's a very organic handoff. I specifically requested that you throw to me for a plug here at the end of the show.
Well, way to ruin it.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, I'll make no bones about it. Anyone that watches Mandalorian knows that they just wrapped their second season. And I talk about that on a podcast called Star Wars TV Talk that can be found in all your podcast apps of choice. And yeah, we finished up our coverage this weekend of that last finale, which was a very interesting finale. I'm not going to spoil anything. But if
There's
anyone is
nothing
into
to
that,
spoil in that.
there's nothing to spoil. It was a very uneventful finale. But if anyone is into that show and enjoys my take on this kind of pop culture stuff, by all means, check out Star Wars TV Talk. I would love you to come and give it a listen.
Very good. Steve, you up to anything while we're off?
Oh no, just home for the holidays. Gonna spend it
All
with
right.
mother.
All right. Well, I just shot a sketch yesterday. It'll be up on my YouTube in the next couple weeks. I'm really excited about it. So
Give us a little amuse bouche. What are we in for if we check it out?
So this sketch is about a man tasting Impossible Burgers. He's at a taste test, but his whole deal is that he can taste the soul of the meat that he's eating. and he can describe to you the animal in immense detail.
Okay. Well, there's an boosh. All right. And so
I'm
that'll be
tuning into
dropping
that.
on your social at some point in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, that'll be on my social in the next couple weeks. So if you're just really missing me and my sense of humor, check it out.
Very good.
All right. Well, we'll miss you guys, but we'll be back in January. And that is a wrap. Thanks to Steve Finn and John Murray. And thanks as well to our most generous patrons, Sam Bowers, Neil Weinstein, Justin Gardner, Carissa Eubank, and Brian Clark. If you're enjoying our show, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever better podcasts can be found. Your subscription helps us grow, and your support is greatly appreciated. We'll be back next year when SNL returns. But until then, this has been episode number 124 of the Saturday Night Live Afterparty podcast. I'm Katherine Coleman. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.